Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I was going to say it's good afternoon, too, for Ash. So we'll be.
Feels later.
Yeah.
It's been a really long week.
It has been a very long week. A good week, though. You don't usually get those going hand in hand. A good week and a long week don't typically go the same. But yeah.
Yeah. Good in terms of the signal setting, some of the outcomes, some of the just the whole World Economic Forum thing was a high point. Flexing, right? And the change in mood and kind of change in rhetoric of a lot of those people. That was a good thing. It just feels like that was a month ago. Feels like President Trump's speech at the World Economic Forum was like a month ago.
Do we all remember that just 5 days ago, President Trump had to turn his plane around because of a technical glitch, human error?
Allegedly.
Little gremlin, allegedly. Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. So we're doing an early show tonight because we want to get the rest of that hearing in for you guys, because there's still fireworks even after the big reveal. And then following this, we're going to have a few Georgians on and folks that have been intimately involved in this, and kind of have a little powwow, round table, celebration, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun and informative.
Yes. So. And probably a little enraging. I went back and read some of that complaint. The one that was the substance of the Wednesday hearing, or the part of the Wednesday hearing that we covered. And I got a little mad.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I got a lot mad. And then I calmed down, and then I talked to our friend who's a clerk, and I got mad again. And then now I'm here. So we'll see how it goes.
Any updates on our Neanderthal friend out in Colorado and the work that he's doing?
What are we talking about? Macias?
Macias, yeah, he's in Neanderthal.
Yeah, no, they're done now. So he's left and gone back to the what a
cave.
Sauron
cave.
Where's the bad place in Lord of the Rings?
I don't know.
Bad place. I don't know. Yeah, I've only seen it once.
He's back on the Death Star.
Yeah, I don't want to give him that much credit. Like, he's no Darth Vader, you know.
No, he's not Darth Vader, but he's
like Rick Moranis's character in Spaceballs.
He's more like the
Darth Helmet.
He's like the stormtrooper that walks behind Darth Vader.
I don't even think he makes Star Wars, Brian.
Okay, I can agree with that. I can agree with
Surrounded
that.
by assholes.
All right, so we are going to roll right into this hearing.
Farik is in the chat right now. What's up, dude? And Ryan was in Colorado yesterday at the Colorado County Clerks Association with his bestie, Matt Crane. I believe they're both Lafayette Group alumni, if I'm not mistaken.
And was Matt Crane ever
Evolving door of lobbyists?
Was he ever associated with Elections Group, Matt Crane?
I
feel like he has to.
They do work here though. So
Elections Group,
ostensibly, and they were at Jennifer Morrell was there too, as I understand it. Yeah, so they're still actively involved in Colorado. Ryan Macias was here pitching his new election security exchange, which we talked about a little bit yesterday. So he's trying to, win new clients, i.e., our clerks, so he can continue having some sort of relevance before he goes to prison, I guess.
Hopefully due process, but hopefully that's what's coming.
Obvious. We definitely want every I dotted, every T crossed, everything done by the book, because these people deserve to be in prison and I want them to stay there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pull this hearing back up and let's get rocking with it. So we are going to start back from the big reveal. And I'll give you guys just a quick rundown what this hearing is. Joe Rossi filed the two complaints. One was co-authored with Kevin Moncla. The other one was more himself. And in those two complaints, two big things were discovered. In one, they discovered 3,125 ballots. I think they're up to 3,900 now, which Mr. Rossi kind of let out the cat out of the bag, that the DOJ was on the ground there helping them out with that. And they found, I guess they found more because he said the DOJ is now up to 3,900 duplicate ballots in the certified machine count. And then he also had a complaint that had 6,691 ballots that were duplicated or triplicated. I made that word up, I think. Maybe not.
Faded. I don't know. I like it. I think we should make it part of the English language if it's not already.
Yeah, duplicated or triplicated from the first machine count to the hand count. And the big question was, why did they have to triplicate and duplicate 6,700 ballots essentially in order to make the counts balance? And the excuse that they just accidentally scanned batches double time does not hold water, because those accidental double and triple scans got the number to be close to what it's supposed to be. So,
but it's also not, they're not scanned in batch order. Right. They're new, they created new batches to create them. So that also debunks the whoops, we just accidentally scanned them twice, that batch, because it wasn't a batch that was scanned twice. It was pieces and parts of multiple batches that were scanned through as new batches. And it's so obvious no one was ever supposed to be able to look at this.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So let's get into it. This is Joe Rossi revealing that Fulton County knew all along that their counts were really bad, from the machine count to the hand recount.
To be honest, driving up here, I got some recent information yesterday, and I really thought, this information is devastating for Fulton County. And this is beyond, the chairman maybe did this differently and would have done it this way. And to be honest, we need you, Chairman Furbier, to help us going forward to get to the truth.
Not according to Mr. Schroeder.
No, maybe we'll calm him down after this. But, all right, Sean, let's hand this out first. I have a copy of this document, and Sean, you've got it up there. It might be a little hard to read. So I want to read it together, because I've only had this for like 12 hours, but I've been aware of it for probably 2 months.
Thank you.
Okay. And if Mr. Mills, if your blood wasn't fuming about Fulton County, you're gonna find this very concerning. Okay. So if you look up there, Fulton County election officials knew that the hand count audit results were falsely inflated. Okay. Let me say that again. And it happens to be that they knew that on November 19th of 2020. Fulton County election officials knew that the hand count audit results were falsely inflated. Now, before you read on too much further, keep in mind that them not owning up to this led to a tremendous amount of work and wasted time. The governor's team had 5 or 6 people on it for 3 months. I spent a lot of time on it. This board spent a lot of time on it.
Legally, that's diversion of resources that he's describing. There was a ton of diversion of resources that needed to be diverted, that were spent on investigating this issue, that Fulton County knew was because they didn't own up to it. As Joe Rossi said, that's harm from a legal standpoint. So he's describing actual harm that came as a result of Secretary of State harm on all of these different entities as a result of Fulton County lying about this.
And if you want to read the whole email, I published it in my Gateway Pundit article on this, if you guys want to see that.
And when Tina Peters was put in prison, there was actually no harm that was actually described. Like, nobody had to divert resources and whatnot. She wasn't charged for anything election related. So they can't say, well, we need new machines or whatever. That wasn't a part of the case. You have to have a benefit harm theory. Hers was internet fame. There was no victim. This harm theory, if you're bringing this as a case, this harm theory is, hundreds of hours. There's a dollar amount attached to each hour, to each hour worked. So he's demonstrating, I don't know if he means to or not, but he's demonstrating kind of the legal predicate here.
And on November 19th, there was an email sent from Michael Pendergast. some people in here may know who that is, but it's my understanding he's part of that election group. And he sent the email to Miss Nadine Williams, who I think was the assistant election director at the time, deputy election director, and Richard Barron, who was the election director. And basically in that email, carries an attachment. I'm going to go through that attachment in a few minutes. You're going to be amazed at how much this matches my report and the governor's report. Could have saved a lot of time. Most of which are the same errors discovered by Mr. Rossi and by the governor, who referred the case to the state election board. Case 2021-181 confirmed that 6,691 fictitious votes were added, in fact, added to the hand count audit results, but were never corrected. I want to backtrack for a second to the governor's letter. In the governor's letter, he stated at the end, he wanted the state election board to act swiftly on this case because they vetted it and they knew it was factual. That was the third item he requested. The second item he requested, which never happened, was, I'll read it to you because I don't want to misquote the governor. He said, number 2, determine whether any changes should be made to the RLA report. If so, the board should determine whether such changes adversely impact the integrity of the RLA report as originally reported or posted on the Secretary of State's website. So the governor himself personally asked that if that report that has been posted on the Secretary of State's website is flawed, off by thousands of votes, he asked for it to be corrected. And that was never done. Never done by this board, never done by the AG's office, never done by the Secretary of State. And I mentioned that because that was a direct request from the governor. Okay, let me keep moving on. Okay, this is the email written down there, but what's more, the email speaks for itself. He's basically pointing out on November 19th, 2020, and ironically, that's the day that Secretary of State Raffensperger, I believe, went out and publicly announced that the hand audit verified the election results. And also subsequent to that, we had Mr. Sterling say multiple times publicly that we know with 100% certainty. I got the emails here if anybody wants to see them. I'm not going to belabor that. He said, we know with 100% certainty that the hand audit was accurate and did not double count ballots. He said that. I got 5 emails from Sterling saying the same thing. So Fulton County knew about this. All right, let's go to the numbers and then I got a question. So go to the last page. You're going to be amazed by this. So this Mr. Pendergast, he didn't have the report as long as we did, but he found 13 errors. We found 36 errors. So this morning on the drive up here, I went and matched the governor's errors, which equaled my errors, to this Mr. Pendergast errors. So for example, the governor and Mr. Rossi error was number 2. You see that on the first line up there. Scanner 1, batch 18, Trump had 26 votes, Biden had 72 votes. That was a duplicated count. Error number 3, Scanner 1, 25, matched exactly what we had, the governor's team and myself, and Mr. James, 21 and 71, and so on and so forth. Go down to the last one. Error number 33 from the governor's report and my report, 37 votes for Trump, and I can't read my writing. Looks like 178 votes for Biden. So just the one with the dash on it, just so you know, that's one I didn't have. So maybe there were 37. I must have missed one. I got 36, but apparently he found one that I didn't have, the one that says 3 and 92. If you add those up, and then again, this is for only maybe 25% of what the governor's team reported and what our team reported. He added this individual had 1,316 duplicated Biden votes and 339 duplicated Trump votes. So what is that? Almost
239 or 339?
Is it 2 or 3?
Your handwriting.
Yeah, it's 239. I didn't have my glasses on. 239 to 1,316. So approximately 16, in their 13 errors, they found 1,600 duplicate counted votes. When we added it all up, I think it was over 6,000. So again, the point being made is that Fulton County knew. Well, you know, the question is who knew and when did they knew it? Fulton County knew, and they knew on November 19th, 2020. And they allowed the Secretary of State, or maybe they told the Secretary of State or Mr. Sterling. And again, I'm speculating, but they may have said, just move on. It's accurate. But they knew, and people went out and touted how accurate this was. People were indicted for questioning it. I spent countless hours on it. The governor's team spent 3 months on it. And to be honest, they were not happy they were having to do this, but they did it, and I applaud him for that. So my request to the board, the United Board, from Ms. Gazal to Member King, is I would like this board, and I heard the chairman say, I didn't know this, but you said something today that rung in my head. He said, the SEB can file a complaint. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Yep.
Because I'm going to ask you to file a complaint against Fulton County immediately and get to the bottom of what they knew and when they knew it. Did they tell the Secretary of State? Did they not tell the Secretary of State? Did they ignore this on their own and continue to allow people to tout that it was accurate when they knew it wasn't accurate? It's just unethical. And it's something that is embarrassing for the state of Georgia. It's embarrassing for Fulton County. It's embarrassing for the Secretary of State's office, because even when these errors were pointed out to the Secretary of State's office, they continued, Mr. Raffensperger and Mr. Sterling continued to deny them. You know when they quit denying them? Who knows when they quit denying these errors?
When the governor's in
November 17th, 2022. What happened on that date? The governor's letter came out.
governor's in the letter.
So
Mhm.
up until November 17th of 2021.
Can you pause
So
it?
they went a whole year.
Can you explain the significance of the governor's letter?
Yeah. So when Rossi submitted this complaint, he also sent it to Governor Brian Kemp, and Governor Brian Kemp looked at it and put together a team to investigate it themselves. And they found the Joe Rossi's findings to be factual.
So the
And-
letter is the result of the
well,
governor's inquiry.
So
On the 17th, it was their findings.
yeah, Governor Kemp sent a letter to the Secretary of State saying, hey, I want you to look further into this. I had my people look into it and they find this to be accurate. We want you to look into it as well. And that was, kind of the letter that he's referring to here.
Touting how accurate this was. And they finally said, Uncle, we can't say this was accurate anymore. In my opinion, that was the time they went into cover-up mode. So again, my request of this board is to get an immediate complaint. And I'm going to ask you, please don't use Ms. McGowan in the Secretary of State's office to investigate this. Please use that how much was it, James? $1.3 million. Use that to hire somebody that is independent to go do this.
Not the
And
elections.
Get
one.
on it immediately. I think you will gain back a lot of respect from the citizens of Georgia. I think the board will gain a lot of credibility back. And I think you can help the Department of Justice get to the bottom of all this, which is important that we do so. And I'll answer any questions, but that's really all I have.
Pause
I
So November 17th is the day that Brian Kemp sent that letter. So November 3rd was the election.
November 17th, 2021.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
full-
So it's a
full
year
year
later.
Yeah.
Okay.
very, very
And
much
November, but
appreciate this.
that's completely separate from the November 19th, 2020 revelation.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
One is from the governor. One is Fulton County internal emails.
Got it.
Time, finally.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I look forward to your continued service to this board. We both make mistakes and we admit when we make mistakes. And what I think we could all agree with is the truth is important. Okay. And I think if we can rally around, sticking to the facts and getting to the truth, we'll come out of this shining going forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are we done with that agenda item?
By the way, that's kind of condescending. Did you see that for VA? So they do this dumb, like you're not allowed to clap. So you go like this
Yeah.
as like a sign, a gesture of clapping. And Furvier is sitting here clapping when he's done. They don't have any, there's no love lost between the two of them.
That's
Are we done with that agenda item?
Just to be clear,
And there he's like, are we done with that agenda item?
Yeah, he does that a couple times. I love that.
Couple times. He's like,
Just
can
wants
we
to get out of
please
it.
move away from this? I don't want to talk about this anymore.
And the answer is no.
And Janelle King is like, nope,
Yep.
coming back.
this document here is showing that, proving that Fulton County was fully aware that the recount was not just off, but it had several errors in it.
Yeah.
Which those errors go back to the demonstration that you showed earlier. So they were aware of all of that.
Well, the
In 2020.
demonstration I showed was with the machine count too.
Okay.
This was with the hand audit.
Okay.
I was playing devil's advocate, thinking the only way they can explain this is, well, Richard Barron saw it because he told her to send it to Miss Nadine. Someone could say, well, we never read the email. That's the only way I can think of someone explaining this.
So they were aware. November 19th, 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
I'm sorry. Now, will you get back to me on what this board is going to do? Okay, you don't have to file a motion today. You got to go talk about it and all that stuff, right?
Well,
Is that the workings of the board, or can you file a motion today to open a complaint investigation? I don't know the rules of the board.
Any board member can file a complaint if they see fit.
Okay.
Any board member.
Any board member can do a motion like right now?
You don't have to have a motion to file a complaint. Any board member can file a complaint
Okay.
if they see fit. So it
All right.
doesn't,
Well, I look
doesn't
forward to,
require a vote by the board or anything else. I mean, if a board member sees an activity that they think violates the code, then a
Is
board
it-
member can file a complaint.
is it more impactful if all of you sign on to it?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
For
I look
sure.
forward to seeing 6 signatures on a complaint. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is no way Sarah Gazal is going to sign on to that.
Yeah, she's kind of in the what difference at this point does it make bucket right now.
She's full blown,
Come on, guys. It was so long ago. Can't we just move on?
pretty much. She's the one all the way far left.
Let's just do some process changes and it'll be fine. We investigated ourselves. Mistakes were
Now-
made.
Now we get into the fire.
Wow.
Are we done with this?
no, sir, I had a comment if you don't mind. I just want to bring home the point. I have honestly tried to look at this. I wasn't here. I was in this position. I didn't know just average person about elections, but there's just a lot of questions that still remain in my mind as to what exactly happened. And I mean, I take your comment in regards to Mr. Jeffries and, you know, you don't want any part of this. I take it at face value. But where I struggle is I've gone back and watched the video, and the very next day, Mr. Jeffries comes in, makes a motion to reconsider the motion regarding the Rossi case, and he was ruled out of order because it wasn't put on the agenda.
No, he couldn't reconsider because he didn't make the original motion and he didn't second that original motion. And so according to Robert's Rules of Order, either the person who made the motion or seconded the motion would need to have the motion reconsider, which is what we did today. That was why it was out of order, because he wasn't part of the original.
I mean, I hear you saying that, and I know a little bit I'm not an expert, but I know a little bit about Robert's Rules and Order. And it's inconsistent on your part if that's what you're going to say. I mean, today, and I wasn't opposed to what we did, but today we reconsidered a decision that was made on December the 10th. And we reconsidered it so we could finalize the vote that we messed up.
It never was voted. She never
know.
voted.
I
So
know.
that's the reason we had to, because it never was a finalized vote. So it was reconsidered for that reason. There was a quorum here.
I'm not opposed to what we did. We fixed something.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, you can't say in one instance, Robert's Rules, we're going to go by it strictly. Another instance, we're not. And best I can tell from the little research of this agency, you're not under any Robert's Rules. You're under simple majority. Until this board adopts something, it is simple majority rule. Now we do flow. We try to use that, but you look it up. I mean, parliamentary procedures, unless you adopt something, it's simple majority. And I'm not promoting one over the other. I'm just stating the case. So the struggle that I have is the next day, if you didn't mean it, you don't want any part of this. Well, the next day, when that same person comes to a meeting and says, I move that we reconsider it when he's ruled out of order, and you're telling me that it's because he wasn't involved in the original vote. That's not what you said when I saw it. You said you're out of order because it's not been properly placed on the agenda.
That may have been the conflict. The reality of it was there's a memo from and whether or not I don't recall under Robert's point that we are
human error. I'm just telling you that when I went back and look at it, that's not what Chairman Jeffrey said. I move that we reconsider a motion considering the case 2023-025. I move that we refer this case to the Attorney General to investigate and review the failure to provide or attain 173 required documents associated with the 10 named advanced scanners in the November 3rd, 2020 general election. And then your response was, Member Jeffries, the chair is ruling your motion to be out of order since it was not properly initiated and noticed and placed on the agenda. The chair will inquire with legal counsel as to whether this motion can be heard at a future meeting, given the board has previously ruled on this matter. And then I think after that, I think the vice chair made a motion to reconsider, and she was ruled out of order. Similar reason. And I can't judge anybody's motive. I'm just saying that when I see this, don't call someone crazy for just asking an honest question. We can't overturn who was elected. We can't overturn who is elected. It happened. We're looking back to say there was a problem and we want it fixed. We just don't want it going forward. And I think all of us can agree if we can find a problem we want it fixed. No matter what. I know that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think that's where I am very confused, kind of head scratching. It's just the amount of people who see this major error. I think what you just presented, showing that they knew that these errors were in place all the way back in 2020, and they lied about it and continue to act as if this did not happen. But it still feels like, even with this information, there's still people who feel like, oh, but it's okay. Oh, it's okay.
Does that sound familiar? Oh, it's okay. The 315,000 tabulator tapes that are unsigned, it's okay because we've got 3 hand counts to verify that everything was on the up and up.
Yeah. What difference does this point at this point does it make? That is, she's spot on. It's like, well, mistakes were made, but it's 2026. We just need to move on. No, there needs to be accountability for what happened. This is, what did Joe Rossi call it? Intentional human intervention.
Yep. Is the
Intentional
predicate
human intervention caused real harm on multiple different entities, as well as stole the will of the people. And like we talked about yesterday, not just for the state of Georgia, for the nation.
Yeah. Predicate to fraud, he called it. Intentional human intervention.
There may not have needed to be a runoff in the Senate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm baffled by that as to why this is okay. This is not okay. Duplicate ballots, counts not adding up, pulling ballots from stacks and creating new batches. This is not okay.
Member King, I think I can answer why it's okay. Because nobody has truly been held accountable.
Bingo.
And a simple letter and was it a letter of reprimand or a letter of instruction?
It's a letter of reprimand.
Which is baffling to me too. Why does this not go to the AG's office?
You guys have sent lower level cases today to the AG's office. And to answer your question, it is still okay because nobody, either in the Secretary of State's office or Fulton County or members of this board that may have been involved in it one way or another, even prior to the chairman's tenure here, have not been held accountable.
Ooh. Okay.
If I may speak based on what we've heard from Member Lindsay, because he was the one who moved for a letter of reprimand as opposed to referring it to the AG's office. His motivation was to make sure that there was a monitoring team in Fulton County for the 2024 elections to oversee and make sure that the irregularities did not occur. Because had it been, please let me finish.
I'm not gonna.
Had it been referred to the AG's office, we don't have the authority to require that Fulton County adopt a team to observe the election. We don't have that. That is simply not within our legislative ambit of solutions that we can, or remedies that we have the authority for. And he decided that that was a bigger priority to make sure that the 2024 election was conducted as cleanly and transparently as possible. That was what he has stated numerous times. And that's what he put in his email. So if you're asking why, that's the why that we have, because it was former member Lindsay's.
Member Lindsay went behind the board's back and negotiated the monitoring team and all that stuff with Fulton County. So I mean, just to be blunt, I really don't care if he wants to pretend like that was some type of remedy. No one asked one board member to decide what the remedy should be for a case of this magnitude. That was where he went wrong. That's number one. Number two, a monitoring team is not what this needed. This needed to go to the Attorney General's office. They needed to do a full-on investigation to ensure, or they can bring in the Secretary of State's investigators if you say the Attorney General doesn't do investigations. But either way,
Pause it for a second. That's crazy. The Secretary of State, so this is a state level legislation thing, but the Secretary of State's office has investigative capabilities and the AG's office doesn't?
So the Secretary of State would be the one tasked with investigating this. I still think that the board themselves should be have an investigation arm, and I think they do now. I think now they do. But
yeah,
so
that's wholly inverted here. So here, the pretty much the only people with investigative powers for this kind of thing are the AG's office, and the Secretary of State is constantly pulling in the AG's office.
Well, they've called for the complainants in this case have called for the AG to investigate the to look into the investigation of the Secretary of State's office, and the AG's response is that they're our client, so we can't investigate them or prosecute them. We can't do anything.
Why are we electing AGs if that's the case?
That's a great point.
We have to just protect each other because we're all clients of each other. So sorry, nothing we can do. Well, who else can investigate? Well, no one, because that's us. So I guess we're not doing it.
Yeah, and the AG is not going to do anything in Georgia because I mean it's they're part of the system, right?
Georgia should have zero. I mean, I said this yesterday, but Georgia should have zero to do. The authorities in Georgia should have zero to do with this investigation, except being the targets of it and witnesses when needed. They have proven that they are incapable of handling this issue because it's 2026 and they knew it was a problem in 2020 and it was never dealt with. It was covered up.
Yeah. So there's going to be questions about whether, Fulton County told after the Secretary of State came out and continued to say, over and over again that this is a clean election. We have three counts to back it up. Everything's fine. I think we're going to see kind of a stand down here where Fulton County is going to be asked, did you tell the Secretary of State about this? And the Secretary of State's going to say, we had no idea. Fulton's going to be like, well, we told the Secretary of State, and we'll see. I think we're going to have kind of that standoff, like a game of chicken here, and see who's going to flinch first on this.
The plausible deniability thing. But Rossi said that, and it's in one of the emails that they escalated it to the state. Now they don't say the Secretary of State. They don't say Brad Raffensperger, but the implication in what Rossi says is, I'm assuming that's the Secretary of State.
Right.
In November of 2020.
Yep. All right, let's keep going. Janelle King is on fire here.
And that's really important because on January 2nd, 2021, the Secretary of State told President Trump, your information is bad, man. Everything is fine. There's no short in the count. The counts are fine. Everything's great. You have bad information. You need to back off this, President Trump. You have bad information. And at least based on the way this has been laid out for us and what we are told in this story so far, Brad Raffensperger knew on November 19th, 2020, that President Trump was right. Effectively, their votes are under what they thought they needed. They're putting more ballots in there. Okay, right? We all know that clip. That's that he was right. He was right, and Secretary Raffensperger lied to him to shut it down so that Joe Biden could be president. There would have been no runoff. We're talking about control of the Senate, the presidency of the United States. These are not small stakes. These are not things we're just going to move on from and do some process changes and everything's going to be fine. These people need to go to prison at a minimum.
So for those that just joined us from Zach's stream,
Hi, Zach.
we're going to have about 20 more minutes going through this hearing, and then we'll be joined by some Georgians that are intimately involved in this case and everything. And we're going to have a little powwow, discussion, celebration, maybe like a shouting match, victory lap. Also, we're going to trip each other along the way. Because we're gluttons for punishment in the election integrity movement. And every time we take 2 steps forward, we have to take 5 back. So, all right, let's get back into it.
The outcome of this should have been finding out who double counted, why did they do it, who was the one pulling those batches. I mean, a monitoring team that was put together by, and let's talk about the monitoring team. A monitoring team that was created that was supposed to be approved by the state election board, as well as the Secretary of State's office and Fulton County election board. It was not approved by all 3. It was approved by Ryan Germany in the Secretary of State's office, who decided that this was the team we're going to put together to monitor Fulton County. Does anybody think that was a real remedy, or does that look like it was a concocted plan to be able to get out of what it really should have been and to allow Fulton County to come out of this without having really much of any type of punishment? That's what happened.
Well, let me correct a little.
Okay, so real quick, this is, Fulton County seems to always have an election monitor there. We had what was the guy's name? Not Carter Jones. Yeah, Carter Jones. We had the Carter Jones report. in the 2020 election, and Carter Jones, infamously said, that it looked like a beat down car held together by bubble gum, but they got it across the finish line and they did great. There's things they could have done better, blah, blah, blah. Never got the 315,000 poll tapes that are missing signatures. Never got the fact that all the zero tapes were missing. Never got the fact that duplicate ballots were added, scanned ballots, none of that. None of that. So the monitors mean absolutely nothing. Now, these monitors for 2022 and 2024, it was even worse. And I'm pretty sure this is where we started to get the ORR, the optical scans from enhanced voting. And, I wrote about this. It's a way for them to do an audit. And the guy that runs that company, I think his name is Aaron Wilson, was he with DHS? I think he was with DHS and CISA, and he was one of the kind of arbiters of the purveyors of the censorship in 2020, around the 2020 election. I published emails of him saying, we need to get together and put together this misinformation board in order to censor people and get everything figured out. So Janelle King is spot on with this. There is no monitor that's going to fix Fulton County. The only thing that's going to fix Fulton County is for people to be behind bars.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. And as we say almost every week on this show, you cannot restore public trust without accountability. It cannot be, well, we had an independent auditor come in and look at the system and look at our situation and our process. And they said, that we have to make some process changes here and there. And, it was unfortunate, but we didn't realize there was that gap in our process. Yes, they did. It was designed there. And it was all mistakes were made. But it's fine. We can move forward. The statute of limitations is up. I got that one today from somebody. Can you spell statute of limitations? Hey, kitten, no statute of limitations on treason.
Yep. All right, let's keep going here.
And also,
okay,
one more thing.
Remember,
as
Lindsay,
we discussed yesterday, this is control of the United States Senate for the nation. Senators serve 6 years.
Well, this was a special case because one was just filling in. So I think Warnock is up for re-election this year. So,
but in terms of like a statute of limitations questions, you're talking about a 6-year prize. It cannot be undercut in that way. Go ahead.
Yeah.
had those discussions. The board voted on it, and that was the board's choice to move forward with that. And Ryan Germany was on the monitoring team, and he did not work at the Secretary of State's office at that time.
He was the attorney for the Secretary of State's office during during the time that all of this went haywire. He was the attorney for the Secretary of State. And we're finding out that Fulton County knew on November 19th that this was wrong. So Ryan knew. And then he became, I'm going to assume that he knew. I'm going to assume that the Secretary of State know, but now who knows, right? They probably was clueless. They're clueless about a lot of stuff. So either way, we now put the attorney who was there when all of this was going wrong. We've then sent him in to monitor the county. I mean, I'm sorry, but telling me that the board approved it does not make me look at those who approve this as intelligent. I feel as though
line ever.
I personally feel as
how dare you?
That one went a little far.
Well, it doesn't seem intelligent. It doesn't seem intelligent to decide to put a monitoring team in place when this should have been prosecuted. Something should have happened. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings, but that's how I feel.
Well, you're not hurting my feelings. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be.
Saying the word intelligent?
So the implication is don't call us stupid, right? You're saying that the board's decision wasn't intelligent. Oh my gosh, you're calling us stupid. That's engaging in personalities and false decorum, and you can't do that. That's really terrible. Okay. The alternative is it's nefarious criminal intent. Either it's stupid and you guys are just mindless, not intelligent, moron drone board members, or you knowingly and willfully engaged in criminal conduct. Which is it? Vervier. What's his name? Vervier?
John Fervier, former senior vice president at Waffle House.
Nice.
Well, saying,
Lack of
well,
His
it's an
credibility
opinion.
is scattered.
I have a right to have that opinion.
you do.
The actions does not seem like they were coming from intelligent decisions.
So
I stand by that.
it's. Are we?
So where do we go from here?
We file a complaint.
Okay.
That complaint needs to be very well thought out,
Mm-hmm.
Including almost wordsmithed.
I agree.
So she brings up a good point. I don't know if we're actually going to make it to that, but the woman on the left, second from the left, I think her name's Dobbs. She's new.
Yeah.
She says later on, like, okay, we're going to file a complaint, but we're the state election board. We're the ones that hear the complaints. Who do we file a complaint to? So we're going to file a complaint, to the Secretary of State. Well, the Secretary of State's the one that investigated this. The complaint's in part about their shoddy investigation. So yeah, she brings up a good point. We'll keep going here, see if we get to it.
Are we finished with that? The next item on the agenda,
One word,
I'm sorry.
Sharon, although plenty's been said, I don't need to say a thing. Is the bottom line is there were allegations that were not fully and completely or adequately investigated. And that ultimately led to a debate and a conflict of whether this case was opened or closed or completed or not. That resulted in all sorts of angst and maneuvers that sometimes seem like obstruction and cover up to me. But I want to show the group here and this board the chart that I asked you and the board at the time of May 7th to demonstrate how many violations occurred over one part of Mr. Rossi's complaint. Every red square is a violation. Every red square. This is a spreadsheet of all of the missing documents relating to the 10 ballot scanners that to this day cannot be found or adequately provided documentation that they were used in the election. And that has led to part of the quest to find these documents in the subpoena and the opposition to the subpoena and the motion to quash the subpoena. And I want to read Judge McBurney's final statement that came out a few weeks ago regarding the motion to quash the subpoena for the documents and the ballots. The court rejects this argument for 4 reasons. First, on their face, there is nothing that links the subpoenas to any particular investigation, open or closed, other than a generic inquiry into the operations of Fulton County Board of Elections. Second, plausible or not, the state election board articulated an interest in learning from the mistakes of the 2020 election to prepare for future elections. Clearly, that is within the board's purview, regardless of one's perspective on whether the 2020 vote count was particularly error-riddled in Fulton County. Third, it is not plain from the limited record established that the state election board's investigation into Fulton County's 2020 election management was in fact closed. While 2 board members bandied about the Latin term res judicata, parentheses, a matter judged, to staunch the flow of demands for petitioners' data from the other 3 members, it is not clear that the matter, i.e. the state election board's original investigation, has ever been completed. So here we are today, still seeking the documents and now requesting the ballots yet again.
So, Dr. Johnston, when we were talking about hearing Fulton County stuff today, and there was a request by Fulton County to put that off because their attorney wasn't available and that kind of thing. And I had asked the
By the way, she got fired. I found out. The attorney that admitted to the 315,000 unsigned poll tapes in the state election board hearing last month in December, she got fired.
Secretary of State Attorney,
No, Fulton
Fulton
County
County Attorney,
and Brumbaugh.
because of that.
I don't know. I don't know if it was because of that. I would assume it's because of that, but yeah,
Wow.
bad day for her.
question, have they complied with the subpoena yet? And, I usually don't ask a lot of questions that I don't already know the answer to. And so I don't believe that there has been any response or production of the information requested from Fulton County. And, with what Mr. Rossi has said and everything else, when I said, where do we go from here? Okay, we file a complaint. Who are we going to file a complaint with? Okay. And then if we file a complaint, then what do we expect someone to do about it with someone who didn't want to send their attorney, but yet magically we did get an attorney here today. He was thrilled to be here too, by the way. I could tell. And so we're given specific authority, duties, responsibilities under the code. And we have been scared into a corner by eternal vigilance. You turn around and you hear eternal vigilance. And, I don't want to get sued. I've worked my whole life since I was 14 years old, and I know other people have, in what they have. And we're in a situation where, are we going to have representation? Are we going to have an attorney? What are we going to do? But what are we going to do by allowing Fulton? And that's just the county we know about, right? What other counties are there where there are issues that have never been fully investigated?
100.
And I'd asked the question about the data team for the Secretary of State's office, their elections division, do they have people that run the data that find, what other people find, what Joe Rossi found, and what many, many other people have found, what Phil Davis has found, at what point do we pick up the mantle and say, we're investigating this, we're going to hire a forensic accountant, we're going to have a private investigator check into this, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire? At what point, and I'm asking, I'm new here, but we can get mad and we can get upset and we can shake our fists, or we can change things. And the problem is, in my view, is that this has caused a crisis of confidence among so many Georgians. How many Georgians are not getting out to vote because they say my vote doesn't count? We heard it today. And that's just the double voter situation with the Secretary of State's office and, how they're maintaining that information and how counties are doing voter rolls. I got involved in 2020 because I saw something and I knew it was rotten as the day is long. And I wanted to make a difference. And now I feel like, we are all in a position to make a difference. And what are we going to do with the complaint?
I actually had a letter to go to the House a recommendation. Part of my recommendation to the House is that they remove the stipulation off our funds so we can hire. We can't hire those people that you mentioned. Our budget was increased, but the governor put stipulations on that money and said we can't.
But it
use
was for
hiring.
operational expenses, right?
Operational.
Okay, define operational.
Well, it's not hiring. I'm just telling you what it says.
It's not heads.
Hiring, specifically a hiring stipulation.
Okay, I have a problem with that.
Well, that's
Not
the governor.
you.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you. But, we're getting back to the days of define the word is. I mean, I brought a rule change because of defining the words impossible and impracticable.
I understand.
Because you've got machines that are so hackable and are so open, and what it is insanity to me. And I am not leaving this courthouse tonight until we hear my motion on Senate Bill 189, because we have another looming problem, which is they're going to kick the can down the road. If no one has seen it, our friends at Eternal Vigilance, whatever they call themselves now, have put out a new thing. And I hear they're now the Eternal Vigilance Institute. And so they put out a new memo, and I'm making a short point on this. They want to use election night reporting just as a guess until they do an OCR audit on the voting. And we are conflating our elections to the point that we're not going to know who's manipulating and controlling them, or
We
who
already don't.
accidentally scanned some extra ballots. I mean, this
I
thing
understand.
with Fulton County is so significant. I don't know that a complaint's going to do anything. I think we need professional help, y'all. Fulton County needs professional help.
Can you pause it for a second?
Yeah.
So in corporate America, so in the private sector, if you have your budget constraints come down, you ask for whatever you want, you get back a number, there are certain guidelines on there. Hiring is not the same as operations, as Janelle King said. Hiring freeze means you can't hire new employees, right? But let's say that they needed to have nothing to do with this specific situation, but they needed an auditor to come in or a consultant to come in and share. They would be able to hire that company to bring in. And this is how government gets around limitations in statute all the time, is that they use contractors. So we have a hiring freeze. We can't do anything. Yeah, but we still have open budget for tech services and X. So we can hire consultants. We're not violating the hiring freeze. We're not hiring employees, but we can bring in experts to solve this problem because we have to. I think that the Dobbs, is that her name? I think she's right.
Yeah.
I think she's right that they could, if tested, and the governor might sue and say, no, you can't hire an auditor to come in. But my guess would be that the guardrails, the parameters put on were actually about bringing in employees, hiring employees, and they would be able to get around it. If the stipulation from the governor is that you cannot even bring in a vendor to do anything, you can't hire you can't bring in any additional resource capability into the state election board. You can use the money for everything except employees or subcontracting capabilities that you don't have. Well, then I would say these guys should sue the governor, because I think that's undermining what the people want with the allocation of that money.
Well, that's the problem, is up until just recently, this was a this board as a whole was just more kind of like, I don't know, kayfabe. It was just for show, a dog and pony show, right? Look, we're actually trying to do something, and they had no power. Secretary of State was the chairman back then. They've gotten that out. Then they were beholden to the Secretary of State, kind of got rid of that, and so here we are now. I just want to pull this up real quick because they mentioned that Eternal Vigilance Institute. Eternal Vigilance is a conservative-leaning nonprofit that supports adopting instant runoff voting, a form of ranked choice voting in Georgia elections, run by former state rep Scott Turner, a Republican who founded the group. It contends that traditional runoffs, in which a second-round election is held when the leading vote-getter does not receive an absolute majority, requires more money to be diverted from government operations to handle absentee ballots, early voting operations, and election day operations. So
no, ranked choice voting is bullshit. You never actually know what the people want. That's not Eric Scott Turner, the director of HUD, right? Different Scott Turner.
Yeah, I think that's a different Scott.
Yeah,
Turner.
this is what I mean, by the way, when I say the word conservative doesn't mean anything anymore. This is the conservative think tank that wants ranked choice voting. Nope.
It does not say. Yeah, I don't see anything else on him. Yeah,
Scott with one T.
And
well, I mean, I found his Ballotpedia. This is his Ballotpedia, but it doesn't really say much.
Oh no, that guy's white. Eric Scott Turner's black, so different guy.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, Grubbs, not Dobbs, by the way.
What is the AG's office going to do?
I think we all share your frustrations. We have had it for a while, some longer than others here. I'm just telling
Janelle King is basically saying, hey, you're the new lady. So learn the ropes.
you that while it may appear to be as simple, the stipulation on our funds it's a real stipulation.
Yeah, but operational expense, if you go back to the code and you look at what our responsibilities and our role is, how can it be called anything but operational when we want to operate by investigating, which we are allowed to do by the code? I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just what I'm telling you is that it was operational funds, and then we had a stipulation that said we cannot hire any additional people.
Well, I don't want to hire people. I want to hire companies.
I think she's right on this.
Okay.
Those are two different things.
I don't know.
We
I
can-
mean,
we can
it's
continue this.
Operationally,
Okay,
they're
we'll
two
continue.
different things.
Next item on the agenda, SCB, SOS emails.
It's vendors
right.
versus employees. Those are two different things. I think she's right about that. Before we bring on our incredible panelists, should we talk about some of our incredible sponsors?
Yes, we absolutely should. And we'll start with Rattlesnake Meats. Guys, you have been sold. Wait. There we go. There it is. You guys have been sold a lie that food should be cheap, that grocery store chicken and beef are fine. They're not. At Rattlesnake, they raise protein the right way. Pasture-raised, 21-day aged beef and premium pasture-raised chicken with no subsidies, no shortcuts. It's not cheap to produce. It shouldn't be cheap to eat. Bite back. Think differently about your protein. Visit rattlesnakemeats.com/Badlands and enter promo code Badlands and get an order sent out on Monday or Tuesday. Ships to all the lower 48 states, and shipping is included. Rattlesnake Meats. I love them. Love Rattlesnake Meats. And then Ash, I'll let you talk about Tamarack Gardens. You're muted. Amateur.
It was so great too. It was the best intro to an ad I've ever done. Are you looking for a better alternative to the over-the-counter drugstore medications? Tamarack Garden began from a parent's desperate need for safe and effective options for their kids. They were tired of the toxic chemicals, so they took matters into their own hands and began crafting medicine from weeds, wildflowers, and herbs, the original time-tested healers that modern medicine cannot match. Packed with antiviral herbs to boost immunity and fight illness, Tamarack Garden has, for a limited time, their elderberry and rosehip syrup kit available. Not only is it delicious, no more battles with kids, and I've made it. It is delicious. It's easy to make. Fact check true. I don't cook, and I actually could make it. It will keep you and your family healthy all fall and winter. Introducing Tamarack Garden's new baby line, clean, non-toxic, and gentle for newborns and moms. Relieves cradle cap, diaper rash, stretch marks, and postpartum pain. Visit tamarackgarden.com today and use promo code Badlands for $10 off orders over $50. Remember to eat your weeds. tamarackgarden.com, promo code Badlands.
All
We are
right.
big fans of Tamarack Gardens. They're a great family, great business, and their products are fantastic. So check them out.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring on two of our guests that are here so far. We've got Miss Holly Kessler and Mr. Garland Favorito.
Hey, y'all.
Holly, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Can y'all hear me okay?
Sound
yes,
great.
ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Garland, how are you? Feeling any better? Oh, you're muted.
Muted.
Garland, muted.
Sorry about that. I was doing stuff in the background. I'm not really feeling too much better yet, but I'll try to stay with you for about a half hour or so. And
All right.
and then I'll leave you in good hands. Holly will be in good hands.
Well,
So
first of all,
let's-
congratulations to you guys and to Joe and David and Kevin and everybody that's been fighting for this, relentlessly fighting. It would have been easy to walk away and be like, this screw this. It's
won. Move
too
on.
much pain, too many consequences, too much retaliation coming at us. And I was watching this yesterday. This is my first thing. I think I texted both of you and a few of the other homies and said, you guys are heroes because you did it. It's beyond a doubt proven now in my opinion.
Well, thanks, Ashley. There's a little funny story behind that. When Joe came to us originally, and he said, we need to take this stuff to the governor. And it was David Cross and I. And I'm saying, well, okay, yeah, we'll support you, but fat chance of that going anywhere. And because Holly knows the governor pretty well, so but he was just dogged, determined to make that work. He had good political connections with Sonny Perdue, and that all paid off. I mean, he just stayed on them until they really agreed with the work that David and the team had done, and that was actually all the way up on Tucker Carlson back in July of 2021. It's the same stuff, and so Joe just took that information and ran with it, and it's never stopped ever since. So Joe and Kevin carried that ball, and David as well. So hats off to them.
Excellent.
That's
We'd
awesome.
love to see it.
Yeah, it's been a long, arduous fight, and Garland has been one of the OGs in the fight, going all the way back to the curling. Oh, and Holly's been there as well. We might be joined here by Kevin in a little bit, and I think that will be it for this evening. But yeah, I mean, what were your all's thoughts on the hearing, Holly? We haven't heard from you on it. What'd you think of that hearing yesterday, Wednesday?
I thought it was incredible. I love the way Joe handles everything. He's really persistent, but he's calm, and he just has a really great way of just kind of sliding in, these these wonderful little moments and comments the way he does it. But I thought it was really good. The board has really come a long way. I know there's, obviously we've got all of the new people on there, and so that's really been tremendous. But I even kind of feel like Fervier sort of, changed a little bit, and maybe it's just because it's the pressure, he's sort of under the gun, and it's just he and Sarah. I noticed Sarah was really pretty quiet, not quite as mouthy, I guess maybe you could say, as she has been at some prior meetings. So, the tide has definitely changed, and I think it's only right. It's only right that people get a fair chance. It's not just what we're seeing come out in court of public opinion, but a lot of work has gone into this, and a lot of people spent countless hours and just time, going through this and filing things and talking with people and just working around the clock. And so, it's only the right thing and fair thing to do to give everybody a chance for this case to be heard. It's the truth, and it's the truth. The truth is finally coming out, and that is so important. So hats off to everybody. I tell everybody all the time, we are so fortunate here in Georgia because we have a dynamic team that works on, so many different things, and somehow it just all comes together, and that's what we're seeing this week. So it's really been huge.
Follow-up question, real quick, Garland, follow-up question on the board, because we've covered, Brian and I have covered a bunch of these state election board meetings, and we see new people in there. For a while, it seemed like we had Dr. Jan, and that felt like kind of it in terms of people that were championing the cause of actually having real elections. Right. It now seems from this last hearing that the composition of the board is, so Brian's saying 4 out of 6 members. And I'm not talking about party. I'm talking about.
Wait, hold on. 3 out of 5. Isn't there 6 on the board now, or is it?
No. So James Mills, the executive director, does not have a vote.
Oh, okay.
But he participates. God bless him. He's he is. There's a long story about how James got on the board. They worked really hard to get him on the board. The governor did not want him there.
Okay.
And
go ahead, Ash. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
But I interrupted. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted a little bit of context about, because you said, Holly, the tide seems like it's shifting, and we had some questions while we were playing the hearing in the chat of how did it even get to the point where Joe Rossi was allowed to finally present this information? How'd we get there? So can you provide a little bit of context around that change?
Yeah, so Dr. Jan came on, and she really it was May 7th, when she brought up the case, May 7th of 2024, when she brought the case up for the Joe Rossi case. And then After that, Janelle King came on the board after that. And so then it was them for a while. And then Mike Cohen was the former executive director. He's now moved on to somewhere else. So we have James Mills, who's been really, really great and really instrumental. He's actually a former senator as well. And so he's got some experience, in that arena already. And then the lieutenant governor, Burt Jones, he actually just had an op-ed come out in the Federalist. And they've got that resolution they're pushing through the Senate right now, applying some pressure to Raffensperger, but he appointed Sally Grubbs. And so Sally Grubbs is also our first vice chair of the Georgia GOP. And she has been in this fight. She's former Cobb County GOP chairwoman, and she's been in this fight. She was riding around, following trucks, seeing the shredding of the ballots in Cobb County, so she's been in the election integrity fight for quite some time. So when I say the tide is changing, we've really got good, solid people with a great history and great background, that aren't just trying to cover things up or just push them off to the side or think it's not a big deal. These are people that really do care about our elections and want to see things moving and going in the right direction. And so back to the Rossi complaint, it was really started when Dr. Jan Johnston, and I say Rossi complaint, Moncla Rossi, really, that really started when she brought it up, and then Janelle King got on the board and she started asking questions, and they just kept pushing, and Kevin and Joe just been relentless on making sure that somebody's there, that people are talking about it. That's part of the team effort too, is making sure that we're communicating and that our grassroots people show up and that people speak about these things and just keep it in the news, in the media, showing up, talking about it at these board meetings. So all of those things together collectively, and then absolutely with the board sitting in itself, is how we've been able to get it so far down the line.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about that, if you go all the way back when Kevin and David and Joe filed all these cases way back, the board was completely corrupted, to Holly's point. And I said, that's a waste of time. So, because, you're never going to get anything out of it. But I never anticipated the changes that would happen, as Holly has described. We've gone from it was, as you said, Brian, just Jan, until now we've got a majority 3 of the 5 that are really serious about election integrity, plus an executive director who has just been great. And as Holly said, not only was he state senator, but he chaired a variety of committees. So he's incredibly experienced. So what a difference it is. And as Holly was saying, Verveer is also changed a little bit. Although, to be honest, I'm a little frustrated with Joe for letting him off the hook. I was ready. I was ready to go for the juggler. I think the board was as well. And Joe kind of took the air out of the room. He's just too nice.
Yes.
I texted him after. I said, Joe, you're just too nice. So, but in all seriousness, the chairman has done every single thing he could to prevent this case from being coming to light. All the evidence in this. I mean, just repeatedly, just a complete abuse of his authority, and that is not going to go away. If next time if he gets a chance, he's going to do, I think, the same thing again. But right now, he's behaving very well in the last meeting or two. Of course, last meeting he wasn't even there, so that was really good.
Yeah, he gets really upset if you call him stupid, though.
Unintelligent or intelligent. Kevin, welcome.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, guys.
Kevin, what's up, buddy?
How are you?
Doing well, man.
So, hey,
What a week.
I got absolutely. I got to hand it to Kevin. So all this work that you see coming out of Georgia. Well, Kevin is the guy that produces this data. If I want to know anything about Georgia, I go to Kevin. People think I know a lot, but I have to go to Kevin to get the real deal. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you'll probably never get the credit that you deserve, Kevin, for all this. But we know it. Joe and David Cross and I and Holly, we all know what you're doing. And I can't even say enough about you. Everything that you've done.
Well, I appreciate it, but it's folks like my wife finding this newest stuff for Joe with Fulton County. Melissa, who's done the records requests. Phil Davis, who's done the analysis. As you guys know, it takes all of us.
Right. Yeah. Phil, we forgot Phil is another great guy.
Yeah,
So
I want to hang on a second. I want to just say what I said to Kevin, because when I said yesterday, I said I texted a bunch of you guys and said you're heroes, and Kevin responded and said, "Well, thanks for the sentiment, but my young child could have found the evidence in this situation." And I want to make it very clear: it is the courage and persistence that is the heroic bit, and that's what I think more than. And there's great election. Holly knows them, and Kevin and everybody knows them. But there's great election integrity groups around the country that have been in place since before 2020, in earnest since 2020, and are doing great work. But Georgia, I think, is out front with even among that infrastructure. And there's been, over the past 6 years, there's been scuffles and, groups coming and going and all kinds of stuff happening for all of us, involved in this movement. But the persistence and the courage, and it's easy to get demoralized. It's easy to get distracted and dissuaded from the goal. And y'all never did. So shout out to you guys.
Oh, thanks,
Well,
Ash. We
all of us,
appreciate it.
I mean, all you guys.
I
Yeah,
know. Thank y'all.
Coming from Colorado, that says a lot, because y'all have got quite a group in Colorado, as I've learned.
Don't get her
over
started on Colorado.
the last few years.
We only got
They
like
made
an
it
hour and
into
a
a
half.
drinking game.
It is a drinking game. It's Friday night. Kevin, so how does it feel, man, to finally get this? I remember, Kevin, when this was a draft and you were sending it over to me and we were reading it and reading through it and everything. I mean, here we are 3.5 years later. How does it feel?
It's kind of surreal. Not there yet.
Not all the way, but a huge victory. A huge victory.
Yeah, I think there's so many, like Ash was saying, there's so many groups that have put their heart and soul and their livelihoods and reputations behind their efforts. And I think Georgia is just, everywhere you look in Georgia, no matter what door you open, it's just ludicrous. It's a tragedy. But I think Georgia's going to be the first one to fall, and soon thereafter, Colorado, Michigan, Pennsylvania,
all of them, all 50 states, all 50 states.
So, Kevin, I got a question for you now, because you shocked a lot of people there. That's some stuff I hadn't seen yet. But what I want to know is, what was Joe showing there? That was not an actual email. It looked like a complaint that had been filed somewhere, and I wasn't aware of where that was. So can you enlighten us on that, or is that still confidential?
Yeah,
the document itself is confidential, but it went to the Department of Justice. So that's part of a.
This is where it came from. This is the email.
Yeah, they didn't get to show that on the.
I think you were referring to the overlay that Joe showed, right? That he says in it, "Oh, that's the email." It's like the complaint about the email. It looks like.
Exactly. And I say, but that email was interesting. You should show that again, CannCon, if you can. This is something that I have not seen before.
Well, here's just real quick. Kevin, is Dwight Bauer?
It is.
So there's another official, and this one has this Dwight Bauer he's saying that Dwight Bauer's already aware of this.
Who's
and that
Dwight for all of the rest of us?
Oh, Dwight Bauer what was his official role, Kevin?
He was former elections director, I believe, and he came back. I mean, Garland probably knows more than I do.
In the county, at the county level?
Yeah.
Yeah, voter registration. And then they brought him back for the 2020 election, which was interesting because he had just retired and then he came back. So that's interesting. And now here we go. We got that email. I'm still fascinated by that email. So now.
Hey, just one more thing, for the audience sake. So Mike Pendergast is elections group. So third party NGO contractor, right? Working with Ryan Macias.
That's correct.
Nadine Williams and Richard Barron are Fulton County elections. Is that right?
Director,
and then Dwight, they was elections retired and they brought him back for 2020. And
Right.
but it seems like Dwight was talking to the election vendor before anybody else was in the loop, at least according to the email.
I think that's a fair assessment. And Nadine is now the current elections director, but it's important to note that Nadine was in charge of the hand count and the recount. So it's kind of full circle there.
That's right.
Kevin, can you explain when they were talking about how they, because you and I have talked about this countless times, but when they selected the monitor for Fulton County and Lindsay did it without a vote from the board, can you explain that? Or Garland, you can as well.
Go ahead, Kevin.
So, for 025, the two board members, the two Republican board members were Jan Johnston and Rick Jeffries. Rick Jeffries, he had just begun. He just got on the board. And so Verveer knew that on May 7th, Rick Jeffries had a conflict. He's on another board, government board that he had to be there for. Had to be at the other board meeting the same day as this state election board meeting was hearing 025. And our case was last on the agenda. And he knew that Rick Jeffries wasn't going to be there until mid-afternoon. So instead of leaving things alone, he, the night before, rescheduled our case to be heard right after lunch. Moved our case up to the point where he knew that the other Republican board member, Rick Jeffries, would not be there. So that resulted in the case being potentially resolved as a letter of reprimand and a monitoring team if all the parties could agree to the composition of that team before the next meeting. That's how it was. That's the motion that was adopted. So what happened is that the state election board, Jan Johnston and Rick Jeffries, never agreed to the members of that monitoring team because the monitoring team was basically 2020 times 2 or 2.0. It was Ryan Germany and Seven Hills or Carter Jones.
Right, Seven Hills.
And so they tried to force it. They tried to do what the attorneys call as a fait accompli. In other words, they tried to, even though it was after the deadline, force the monitor into place and therefore consummate the dissolution of the case. But we fought it every step of the way. Even though they did adopt the monitor, they did so without the state election board agreeing, and it didn't fulfill the conditions precedent that were required to be met to dissolve the case.
So I want to point out, because some folks in the chat were asking, because we pulled the email down real quick, and they wanted to know what the subject line was. Subject line of the email is actually pretty interesting. Potential typos in election results, and then the names of the attachments are potential vote adjustment miscellaneous corrections suggestions is a Word document, and potential corrections is an Excel file. And I think that the use of the word potential here is very interesting because it's plausible deniability again. We're just the elections group. We're just making recommendations, man. We just did a review and we said, here's some, you might have some potential typos and we can make some potential vote adjustments to make some potential corrections to fix your election results. But we're not the ones that are going to do that. So we can't be held accountable for that. We're just advising. So, we're going to give it back to the county, and the county's going to be the decision maker. But the county will be like, hang on a second. We don't even know where this came from. Everybody has plausible deniability, and nobody ever gets held accountable.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. A good point, but except for one thing. There was no contract for that elections group, had no contract with Fulton County. What was Fulton County doing outsourcing their elections to this third entity, which happens to be funded by the Center for Technology and Civic Life, Mark Zuckerberg's organization? We all know Zuckerberg spent $330 million to literally buy the 2020 election with this get out the vote effort in partisan areas, the drop boxes. And then the third thing was free complementary resources to run the election system. And Barron or Brower or somebody or both of them agreed to do that, to turn over their elections to this entity. It's fascinating, just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, in fact, I asked Rick Barron directly, and he said, I have an email from him, and it says, I was asking about the elections group. There was no contract, so nobody was in any correspondence that I was trying to get from open records requests. So I asked Rick Barron directly, and he wrote back and he said, we didn't choose the elections group. They chose us. They came with the CTCL grant, like free wind chimes when you order steak knives at 3 a.m. Nobody approved it. They just showed up, and they did everything from programming the machines for election day to the absentee ballot portal, facilitating the Blue Crest machine, and not doing signature verification. It's on and on.
That never worked. Yeah, that was one of the problems with the CTCL money is we brought in all these NGOs. Like I can remember like when this investigation, like when all of this first began, it took like 6 months just to start learning how many NGOs were actually involved. Elections group, you had Clear Ballot, you had Digital Response, like all of these groups, At Home Voting or whatever the
National Vote at Home Institute,
National Vote at Home Institute. Like there were so many fucking NGOs.
Rubenstein.
ACLU.
Yeah. Hey,
ACLU.
Thanks for delivering just the margin right when we needed it. Sounds kind of like what happened here in Georgia. That was.
And then Kevin, when we had Bridget Thorne on and found out that the ACLU was in her polling precinct with a laptop or her own personal device that was hooked up to eNet.
That's right. And one in each polling location.
It was just wild to see how much of this, and then not to mention the Dominion technicians that every county had that had unprecedented access, including the foreign-born one that was in Fulton County, and ended up getting promoted, got a raise to go work for Fulton County as a government employee. Man, it's been a long journey, man.
Yeah, and if you look at it, so folks got indicted, for their involvement in Coffee County because Coffee County board didn't take a vote to allow those folks to, image the machines. But in Fulton County, you had third parties that the board didn't know about or vote on to authorize them to, have access to a live election. So under Fannie Willis's standards, those folks should be indicted. They're unauthorized.
I agree. I mean, that's so, Joe Rossi kind of let the cat out of the bag during the hearing with, saying that the DOJ now is looking into this case. And I mean, that email just opens up a huge can of worms now, because if they were aware of this and they didn't speak up and say, hey, President Trump is actually right about some of these things that he's claiming on this Raffensperger call, that makes them complicit. I mean, they're going along with that, fake indictment.
But not only did they know about them, they failed to correct them. Those same errors remained and were found by Garland and Joe Rossi and David Cross. I mean, they didn't.
I mean, it's really bad. And in the grand scheme of things, y'all look at how many lives have been affected and how many people have lost so much through all of this. And so now that it's coming out, I mean, something's going to have to be done. People are going to have to be held accountable. There's no question about that at this point. The question is who all was involved. And then, when the state election board files their complaint, who does that go to? Does that get filed to the DOJ or the FBI or GBI? How does all that work? We can't file it with the, IOG's office, the inspector general. He doesn't do anything unless it's American Oversight trying to come after Dr. Johnston, which is our Republican Party nominee, by the way. But he's not going to file. He's not going to look at this because they've already tried filing a complaint. Jeff Fulton was the one that filed a complaint with the Inspector General's office.
We did as well.
And
We
he
filed
had
several.
received it, and then crickets. So it's like, what happens now? You know, maybe Garland or Kevin can answer that. I don't know. That's a good question that I have.
Well, it's important. I mean, there's nobody. So the law says that the complaints from the state election board can either go to the attorney general, or who says he can't investigate. He says he doesn't have the authority, which is a flat out lie.
Right.
Or you can go to the DA of the county. Well, that's Fannie Willis. So that leaves people without any remedy.
Right.
Well, she's got a conflict. She can't investigate this because she prosecuted a former president, a current president now.
Yeah.
So does the AG. The Secretary of State is the AG's client.
Is there a stipulation like with the Prosecutors Association, the same way that they appointed what was his name conveniently? What was his name? Scandalous? Jeff Scandalakis.
Pete Scandalakis.
That's like Guatemala at CISA.
Yeah. Adam, speaking of CISA, is there anything in this revelatory moment that points to Chris Krebs? Because I think that the timeline here is very interesting. They put out that joint elections infrastructure statement saying, everything's amazing. Everything about the election is amazing. November 12th of 2020. But when Chris Krebs spoke before the, House Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, where he said this was the safest and most secure election. There's no evidence. President Trump is a crazy person. Now I'm paraphrasing, but you guys know the speech that I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That was December 16th of 2020. Is there in y'all's estimation, based on the information you know about who was involved in Georgia and what was going on, hard for me to believe that Ryan Macias knew of a major issue that Chris Krebs didn't know about, but maybe, right? Is there any way that when Chris Krebs testified on December 16th under oath before a House committee and said safest and most secure, is there any way that he didn't know, in your opinion?
No, I think CISA and the elections group was working for CISA. They were contracted by CISA, and they laid the groundwork for these risk limiting audits through Arlo in several states.
Is that why there's no contract with Fulton County? Because election group already had a contract, but it was with CISA, and they were operating and being kind of first responder type of thing in the elections ecosystem on behalf of CISA to the states?
Well, they were definitely up to their eyeballs in running the entire election, hand count, recount, and Senate runoff in Fulton County through the whole thing.
And
so
Holly,
that wasn't by accident.
But they they had a contract with CISA at this time, elections group is what you just said, but they did not have a contract with Fulton County.
That's correct.
Yeah, Georgia can have nothing to do with this, but also the feds, as John said on Daily Herald today, I went on and talked about this on there, and he was like, well, if by that logic that Georgia, because my logic is Georgia can't have anything to do with this. Georgia official investigatory bodies have to recuse themselves because they're the target, and they failed. Right. Their checks and balances in the state of Georgia on this issue failed. But John's point was, well, federal government, too. So you're dealing with the same issue. Federal government. And this kind of what you just said, so if the contract for these guys, we sent it away. Here's some potential corrections. Oh, wow. Look, it all matches. Right. That happens. But the contract in place that governs that happening is actually a contract with CISA. That's very interesting.
And so, Ash, I think that your good friend Sean Smith has already answered that question for you when I was he was testifying up in D.C. and we were both experts, and he explained that when Chris Krebs said that the U.S. government had already been hacked by the SolarWinds project, and I don't even think that he even knew it. Not by the SolarWinds project, but their SolarWinds.
Krebs, you mean? Krebs.
Monitor. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris Krebs. So I guess he didn't know that they had been hacked. Maybe they found out later. But I mean, that was so many agencies that were impacted. Even the Nuclear Security Administration agency had been hacked, and Chris Krebs didn't know it. I guess he didn't. So it's either incompetence or lying, or probably both.
Interesting. One of the roles that the elections group had pre-2020 was putting out threat assessment mitigation recommendations for elections, and this assessment or these recommendations went out to every county election board in Georgia and probably the country. But one of the things that Ryan Macias's recommendations were to back up your election system if there's any potential threat or fear of threat, you back it up, which is exactly what Tina Peters did. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
No, I'm trying to get something up
It's
here.
moving slow. That it's interesting you bring that up, Kevin, because I was watching the Fulton County Town Hall last night, and oh gosh, what's her name? The little blonde, the one that filed the ethics complaint, Dana Barrett.
Oh, she's Brennan Center, isn't she?
She's what?
Brennan Center? Is that one? Or is it the
no,
other one?
No,
she's a Fulton County commissioner.
She's also running for Secretary of State.
Right.
On the Democrat side, she's dangerous. So anyways, yeah, she was talking last night, and I think it was her. It might have been the Brennan Center lady that was talking. Which one was talking about saying how they
the voter suppression and intimidation stuff was the Brennan Center lady. That triggered the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too. And the first thing I thought of was Tina Peters, and I thought, okay, y'all are sitting here discussing this, and then you got Tina Peters sitting up there in jail, and getting attacked and everything else. It was absolutely unbelievable. Garland, if you haven't seen that, you got to go watch that.
Didn't you post a clip of that moment?
I posted one of them. Yeah. Well, I posted the one about Julie Adams, the former election director. And I actually talked to Kevin about this earlier. I'm going to file a complaint. I've been working on it this afternoon since Kevin and I got off the phone. Great idea. Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to drop an ethics complaint on that, on Kathy Willard, for what she said about Julie Adams, in today's world and everything that's going on, this rhetoric and cannot stand. Julie Adams is a wonderful person. I know her personally. She's a dear friend, but she's also the only Republican member on the Fulton County Board of Elections. And what Kathy said in that forum, that election town hall about Julie, was a flat out lie. And nobody should ever say that. And they want to, fly around ethics complaints on all of these good, conservative, hardworking people, and lie about them. We're going to file one right back. So I'm going to drop that on Monday. But that was the clip that I had posted, Ash, earlier on that.
Here it is.
Yeah, she's the love child of Elton John and Bill Barr.
I was scrolling through our chat, Kevin, and I came across that from like 2 years ago. You sent that to me. That same exact quote, love child of Bill Barr and Elton John. Here, play this real quick.
I did send you a cropped version of this.
I went back as interim with some new members. We were constantly being distracted by this kind of outside agenda that had nothing to do with the day-to-day running of the department and everything to do with disrupting things through the legal process or other things. And I'm sure we'll talk about it. But that was incredibly disappointing, because I do think it's possible for people to put their partisanship aside and run good elections, even if their point of view is, marginally different.
Can you recall the first conversation where you began to say what you saw that divide or that complete agenda switch happen? Can you recall when that happened?
It was my first meeting. So when I stepped in a couple of years ago to be interim, and Julie Adams was on, and I forgot what his last name is. Anyway, they were on the board, and the issue of certification was up, and there was a big battle over what materials might they have access to? And it just was kind of at full steam at that particular moment in time. And so I listened really carefully to what it was they wanted. I worked with our attorneys and our director about how we might facilitate giving them the information that they asked for. And so we went through the whole list of what their requests were. I went through every single thing about whether it was going to be possible for us to, provide those materials in the time frame that they wanted, which was before certification. And we got to sort of the end of it in this public discussion, and I said, okay, we'll make those available the Monday before we do our certification. We'll come in as early as you want. Tell me how many hours you want to look at it. We'll come in at 5 a.m. if you want. We'll come in a couple hours early. What do you want? So we agreed they'd come in at 8, and all the materials would be laid out on the table. Different staff would be available to address sort of what the piles of information were that were requested and how it did. And as we left the meeting, Mike came up to me and said, "What just happened?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you just gave us everything we asked for." And I said, "Well, I'm listening, like, here you go." What they didn't get was the ability to remove these items the weekend before certification and take them home. And I told them that will never happen on my watch, because that's inappropriate to remove election materials before we've certified the election is just not appropriate under any circumstances.
Yeah. So Vaughn, you see these kind of tactics happening. So when we talk about nomination disputes and legal challenges, we see sort of all kinds of new
That is not a
ways
Georgia
to read
accent.
those. What's your thought about how that affects?
Yeah, it's obviously a part of a coordinated attack.
Yankees.
And the legal aspect of it is one avenue of attack. And Commissioner Barrett, something you mentioned about the previous lawsuit being withdrawn kind of struck me. And I can't tell you exactly what it was about that previous lawsuit that they probably felt it wasn't right. And if we get bad precedent by pressing this case right now and we're unsuccessful, then it's going to slow us down. So it sounds like they withdrew it and brought it again, and this time it lined up the way they wanted.
It also, I think, has to do with where we are in time,
Yeah.
because I think at that moment we were still in the Biden administration. They were not as emboldened as they are today, but I think at the time they evaluated the law we're talking about is a sentence and a half, right? I mean, it's nothing, and they interpreted it the way we interpreted it, which was in our favor. And they sort of knew they were pressing something that legally they didn't think would stand. But now with this climate and under this environment where the courts are sort of bending in many cases to the will of the Trump administration, I think they saw that they had an opportunity to push it further, to your point.
Gary, what do you see in the Brennan Center thoughts on that, about those nomination disputes and how it's just the legal challenges that come from it?
So we haven't really followed at the Brennan Center the party nominations and that kind of thing very closely, because we're a national organization and
Sure.
nonpartisan. But
Totally
I will say,
nonpartisan.
I did really follow
Totally.
the sort of dispute over materials that folks on the board should be able to access before certification that Kathy was speaking about. And, we saw actually beginning in 2021, some instances where materials were handed over to entities that were not neutral, were partisan, were trying to sort of drum up disinformation about elections. And the most famous place we saw that happen was actually the Cyber Ninjas so-called audit in Maricopa County, Arizona. In that case, all the materials, the ballots, actually the voting machines, all those things ended up getting turned over to the Cyber Ninjas. And the result of it was exactly what you might expect, and probably why Kathy thought those materials should never be removed from the government offices and taken out, which is that Maricopa County had to replace their entire voting system at a cost to taxpayers of millions and millions of dollars. So I can, I think my perspective is just to add that, sort of, it's really important for local officials, election administrators to be able to preserve the security of all of these materials so that they can be observed in a bipartisan manner, by nonpartisan observers as well. So that piece of it we have followed, and we're really glad that Fulton County didn't go the way of some other jurisdictions and hand things over and cause them to be sort of just the record's integrity to be destroyed.
Yeah, it's sort of not a tie for voters to understand the amount of money that is being spent on all of these actions to weaken elections and to spend a lot of frivolous time doing things. We don't get an opportunity to make that as loud as what's happening. And the same folks that are complaining about what is going on are also complaining.
Yankees and Tara.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, unbelievable sitting there listening to that. Brian, I
So
think
that
you're
Brennan
muted.
Center lady, the one talking at the end, she is also NYU Law, and NYU Law, the Social Justice Law Review of New York University, was the origin of the strategy for my case. It's let's expand the meaning of intimidation and make voter suppression whatever we say it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what's going on there. So the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections is formed by the legislature, and it is not a county. It's not a county agency or entity. It is a state formed. You can track it straight back to the Constitution. They are the only ones who have the authority to conduct elections, just like in every other county. And the Board of Commissioners has usurped that authority by trying to assert control and power over that entity. So as of right now, they fight the board members from seeing the results. They can't check the results. And that what Kathy Woolard was saying there is a lie. All that the board members wanted was electronic copies of the record so they could do their due diligence, and they were denied access to those copies or originals for that matter.
But her story is
Right.
super useful, right? Her story says, well, no, we gave them everything they wanted. What they were trying to do was something very inappropriate and take all these things away. But according to their own words, they told us, you just gave us everything that we wanted. What happened? That was a really good rewrite of history.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But so we'll go back to 2020. I mean, or this week, they're talking about poll tapes that weren't signed, no zero tapes. That's only possible if that board wasn't able to find this out in 2020. They never saw any of this. They saw a summary and they signed. And that's how it's been every election since.
It's ceremonial.
And this is a great example. They talk about Fulton County integrity. I mean, 346 process violations, over 1 million electronic ballot source records missing. That's in integrity, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Right, they can't prove who won. Not then, not now.
I'm going to have to drop in a minute because I am going to have another coughing fit. I'm not well yet. And we've got our big volunteer meeting tomorrow. Anybody's welcome to join. We're going to play a lot of those clips that, just condensed. We picked out about a half a dozen of the best clips. We'll be playing them. If anybody wants to join, they just go to voterga.org volunteer tab. They click on that. There's no obligation. You sign up, and then you get the link to the call tomorrow. And if anybody wants to see some of these.
All right. Well, Garland, you guys can follow Garland at VoterGA on X. And again, the call, I think you guys do it at 10 a.m.
Excuse me, 9 Eastern.
9 Eastern.
9 Eastern. Oh, the other thing y'all might be interested in, Ash and Brian. So Phil Searcy presented some information on Tuesday that the voting system does not meet error rates and the federal error rates. And it's not even close. It's like 1,000 times off. So he's going to also be talking about that tomorrow. And they did that at their press conference on Tuesday. So fascinating information. Again, there's just more and more things are coming out and will continue to come out here in Georgia.
Yeah, they did great work. I looked at it. It's outstanding.
And for all your work, appreciate you. Sorry, Kevin, didn't mean to speak over you.
Yeah, Garland, thank you so much. And we definitely appreciate you. Voterga.org and follow him on X at VoterGA. Thank you so much, Garland. Feel better.
Okay, we'll do.
Feel better, Garland.
Okay, good night. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the four of us.
We didn't go anywhere. You don't have to welcome us back. We've been here the whole time.
Shush. The field Searcy thing is fascinating. Because that's something that me and Kevin have talked about. David Cross has investigated, and it hasn't gotten any better. In 2020, it was all over the place, and 2022 it was all over the place. And guess what? In 2024, it's still all over the place. So I'm going to be looking into their report. They sent it to me today, and I'm going to dive into that report as well. I got a lot of reading to do this weekend.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah.
In 7 counties. I love too how they picked. I love that, they picked multiple counties, different size variations, different parts of the state. So it shows it's systematic,
Right.
Of course,
Yeah.
I mean, we love Fulton. No offense, Fulton. We love Fulton County, but it's good to see that
I think we
it's
can
all over the
intend a
place.
little. We can intend a little offense towards Fulton County.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah, they've earned it. They've earned it, and I love Fulton County. I was born there. I was born at Northside Hospital. I love Fulton County too, but they should be offended for a little bit after what they've done. I've said, I think Georgia assaulted the nation, violated the nation with this thing. Now we all know it wasn't just Georgia, and it's not Georgia per se. It's the globalist infrastructure that runs our nation, runs our elections. But Georgia's the first one to be caught in this way.
Yeah, it's pretty damning. They're in the hot seat right now, I'd say. And I want to go back to Ann Brambog. So she got fired. I know she had a really bad few days or like a month. Well, I guess if she got fired, she's had a really bad month.
She probably welcomes that at this point. She's like, thank God.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
she was making
let
25
loose.
grand a month.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Just from Fulton County.
Oh,
wow.
Kevin, so where, when we were doing the stream yesterday, I was telling people that, not to take away from what was presented, but the duplicates and all that stuff is kind of the low hanging fruit on the 2023-025 complaint. Where does that complaint go now? The rest of the claims in it.
Well, they're waiting on access to records.
So, well, I mean, like some of the things like the 10 tabulators that have no serial numbers that appear to be phantom machines. I mean, that's something that they should be able to do now. They don't need a court order to get those records. I mean, you just do an open records request, and if they can't produce them, you haul them in before the board.
That's a good point. They have requested the records. They weren't able to get them.
Of course they weren't.
No, I mean, 0 open tapes were provided to the state election board. 0 tapes, I should say.
Wow. So why don't does the board have the authority to, subpoena them to come before the board and explain why they don't have these records?
They do.
But then they don't show up.
I mean,
it's kind of a defiance thing. I mean, they subpoenaed the actual records, right, for 025, and that was that resulted in a lawsuit that was filed by the chair, hiring outside counsel, spending probably $300,000 or more now.
Mm-hmm.
Unauthorized lawsuit.
Holy.
So there are so many different aspects of Fulton County in and of itself, but also Georgia more broadly. Is there a case or an effort that either of you are aware of that brings them together? So you have the Blue Crest machines, no signature verification done, sort of admitted to in that Rico case. You have the missing tabulator tapes. You have missing ballot images. You have this double stacked new batches scanned in thing that we've been talking about here. There's so many issues. Is it the kind of thing that's going to have to be dealt with a single action in some sort of official forum for each one of these things? Or is there an effort, particularly since it's now out of the state's hands and in the Fed's hands, is there an effort that looks at the 2020 election in Georgia, and I would argue the 2021 runoff needs to be looked at as well. But is this ever combining and turning into one effort, or are we looking at a bunch of different cases?
There's a bigger effort.
Love to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Makes me happy.
That's all we could say about that.
That's fine. That's enough.
Well, then. Well, what else do we want to talk
Yeah,
about?
so next.
Yeah, we got a little bit of time left.
Clay is telling you to look at your phone.
Oh. I see. I've got a very attractive woman
Here's
on
a question in the chat, because Holly, you and I were talking about this a little bit before the show. Do you know if Georgia gave the voter rolls to Harmeet Dillon for the investigation, or are they fighting it?
Fighting it.
They're fighting it.
But did it? So there was the DOJ filed a lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was dismissed.
Yeah, they kind of made a little boo boo.
Lack of jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Filed it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna let that one slide.
Kind of a
Just need to
bumbling
get it
Columbo
together,
kind of
get it
vibe.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but there, one thing I found so interesting was, in addition to everything else going on this week, there was a Senate ethics hearing, and they passed a resolution out of there, and but you could clearly hear the frustration from the senators. And there was one senator that he just said, because Brad did show up. Brad was actually summoned to show up at that ethics hearing, and he didn't. He refused. But he did show up the day before at the House Appropriations Committee to talk about the budget, because he's still trying to get.
Because he wants more money.
Yeah, wants more money. That's.
I'm
all
not
it
going
is.
to show up and testify about any of these scandals, but please give me more money.
Yeah, but give me $66 more million. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So, but anyways, I thought it was funny because one of the senators, he actually made the comment. He said, "We can't ever get Brad Raffensperger to answer questions about anything." He's like, every time we try to get him to, come and do this or comply with that or, whatever, we can't ever do it. He said, but in 6 years, I was glad to see him show up yesterday and ask for more money. That was great. Clearly he's being a total smart butt, but you could very clearly see the frustration across the board. And I've heard that not just from senators that I know, but some legislators that I, communicate with as well have also expressed a lot of concern, about what's going on. And so, things are moving. Things are definitely moving in the right direction. I think Georgia's going to have a really, really awesome, successful year, with everything that's going on. So near and far, it's very exciting. Very exciting.
So the
time.
senators are annoyed at Brad Raffensperger not showing up, at asking for money, at not answering questions. The Democrat senators were very, very concerned yesterday. And we saw Gonzalez at the end of the hearing on Wednesday. She was also very, very concerned because of publicly identifiable information in the voter rolls. Now, this is a hilarious thing, kind of angle that they're approaching, because Georgia claims that they have pristine voter rolls, right? We have the best voter rolls in the country. We have checks and balances. What's the number?
We got
one
sued
thing?
because we're asking too many times to
Yeah.
clean the voter rolls.
Yeah, they did say that. We got sued for asking too many times to clean the voter rolls. Also, we're very concerned that the voter rolls are going to be shared with ICE for immigration enforcement.
Okay, I gotta talk on this one. So we're looking at Georgia, which in 2024 had an official citizen voting age population. I'm sorry, they had the percentage of voters that were registered were 103.8% of the population that was eligible to vote. So that's more voters than people, right? And it's not like a glitch or a temporary situation. This has been like this for 4 years. Fulton County was 113%, almost 114% at the time of the 2024 election. The dirtiest voter rolls in the country, I would say.
Wow.
Per capita. And for him to say that they're the cleanest is just absurd. They're the dirtiest, and you can't argue it. That's the
So the
metric.
more honest answer is we're terrified that this is going to be used for ICE enforcement,
Yeah,
not
cool.
we have
Well-
pristine voter rolls and don't need to do this.
Well, I don't know about ICE enforcement, but to clean them
She
regardless.
specifically
I mean,
said
they know they're dirty.
Homeland Security. They were afraid of them being shared. with
They
Homeland
were
Security.
terrified of
Right.
the Homeland Security situation.
Right,
And
but
that
they-
was
but
a
they can give
California
them-
case, I think.
But they shared them all with Eric and Sear.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right.
exactly. That's it. Like you don't give a shit about anybody's personal identifiable information when
No.
it comes to giving it to David Becker's, whoever succeeded David Becker at Eric. We don't have any issues with that because we like David Becker. We know that he's going to do us good things like get us 16,000 extra voters in Fulton County if we need them. And so, we like that. So we're going to be okay with that. But sharing them with Homeland Security, nope, can't do it because they might use it for immigration enforcement, even though we don't have illegal voters on our voter rolls.
Can somebody explain to me how ICE would use social security numbers, which illegal immigrants don't have, for immigration enforcement? Can somebody make that make sense to me?
Well, the federal government kind of gives us the social security numbers, right? So I don't really can't put that one together.
But we're U.S. citizens when we get a social security number.
Some of us.
So nobody with a social security number should be an illegal immigrant. And if they are, not only are they committing it's a civil crime to be an illegal immigrant,
no bueno.
but they're committing felony identity theft at that point.
Right.
So yeah, you guys are accomplices in the commission of identity theft.
It's going to be like wasn't it the servers in Arizona that they never turned over?
Well, that was another piece
routers or something. It was like something that they fought until they basically just wore off the opposition in Maricopa. And we weren't allowed to talk about Maricopa County with Stephen Richer because of someone.
Yeah, archiving the data, Splunk
Yeah.
logs, all that.
Yeah, the Splunk logs. That's what it was. Yeah. And the Senate asked for them repeatedly. A court demanded that they turn them over, and they just never did. Nothing ever happened to them.
Well, that board, that little town hall, when they brought up cyber ninjas and cyber ninjas touched the system, so they had to buy all new systems. No. That was blackmail. That was blackmail. They blackmailed the board in Maricopa. The board in Maricopa County blackmailed cyber ninjas and everybody else that was trying to get the Splunk logs and said, if you guys go after the Splunk logs, then we're going to sue you guys and withhold your budget for all new machines. And that's when they came to the compromise and let Shadig come in there and do his little thing. The Clint Hickman lobbyist guy come in there and do his thing. Me and Kevin, we talked about this when it was going on. There's an explicit procedural step you're supposed to go through if you think your machines are compromised. Is it ridiculous? Yes, it's absolutely ridiculous. But it involves Pro V&V or one of the VSTLs coming in and reprogramming your system. That's it. That's all you got to do. Like that's in their procedures at the EAC.
Yeah, it doesn't say throw them away by another.
No, it does not. It does not say throw them away and buy another.
That's what they did in Mesa. Conan Hayes touched these machines, so we need to buy all new machines. It's going to cost you $1 bajillion, but we'll give you the machines if you sign up for 10 years of managed service and pay us, however many millions of dollars a year that is for the county, then we'll give you the machines. But you have to have all new machines. And if you don't upgrade your machines, if you decide, you know what, we're just going to keep these, we're fine. We had Pro V&V come in and update the software and everything's fine.
Which is another $1 billion.
Dominion threatened to sue. We're going to sue you into oblivion. And that was what the county commissioners in Mesa County cited as the reason for why we have to push for these new machines right now, because Dominion is going to sue the pants off us if we don't.
But
That is not lawful. It's coercion by any measure.
Right. So the EAC's best practices guide says if you want a forensic accounting of the machines, then it gives you a guide of what skill set and what professional certifications you should look for. And nowhere does it say a VSTL or a voting system testing lab should be doing that because they're not qualified to do that.
And there's a conflict in them doing that.
There's a conflict.
Major conflict.
Just a smidge.
Let's take a real quick break here and hear from our last sponsor of our show.
I don't say this lightly. This lotion changes people. My knuckles would actually start to crack. Started using the soft disclosure lotion, and I am very impressed. Even within just a few days, I've noticed a tremendous difference.
That's not a script. That's what happens when something actually works.
It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Yeah, that line keeps coming up. Because when you don't use it, your skin starts acting up.
Every single ingredient in soft disclosure is intentionally chosen. There's no filler ingredients. It is not like this BS product where they have a bunch of ingredients. Every ingredient listed is for a purpose.
Over 65-star reviews for the lotion alone. Not influencers, not actors, just people whose skin finally shut up. Soft disclosure lotion. Once you try it, you'll understand why people won't stop talking about it. Visit softdisclosure.com and use code Badlands and get 10% off.
Softdisclosure.com. Ash doesn't realize she's muted. And
I
it's
know I hate it
hilarious.
that I do that, but I love that so much that you're in the end like the Teletubby baby up in the sky holding the ocean.
The sun.
I love it so much. But I also have to say, soft disclosure, the farm where it is made is Willow Wind Farm. Everybody knows that. It's alpaca farm, right? We are going to have baby goats in like 5-6 months. And Annie has told me that I can put them in pajamas. So it's very exciting. And
Look at Brian's face.
By soft disclosure lotion. I actually have started using it on my face. I need it with the weather changing. It's supposed to be -1 tomorrow, and it's just like everything's drier. Everything feels like kind of like the moisture sucked out of it. So I started putting yesterday. Started putting soft disclosure lotion. I usually use the towel stick on my face, which is perfect amount of moisture. Everything's great. You need a little bit something extra. Put on the yesterday. Put on the goat's milk lotion on my face before I use the tallow bar, and now I think that's my new routine because my skin
It's glowing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree. So softdisclosure.com, promo code Badlands. Get the lotion.
Right.
I'm gonna have to try some.
Yes, you definitely have to try some fantastic products. Seriously, fantastic. Holly, I'm supposed to ask you about handing out malware.
Did Clay text you that?
He did. He put it in the chat.
I can't. I don't have the
heard.
chat up. I can't see it.
I heard. That's hilarious. That is
Yeah.
so hilarious. I still have to talk to you about that offline. Yeah, we got to have a conversation about that. He says ask her about it, but don't let her answer. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's not a thing we're doing, Clay.
I
We're
know,
definitely
right?
not doing that.
That's like
She
him
can
texting me something
I
the
know,
other
Clay. Are
day.
you trying to get me in trouble there, young man? We're gonna have a chat about that next time I see you.
Well, hopefully it's pretty soon. Hopefully. So.
Yep.
Oh man, what else do we want to talk about, man? This has been such a good week, and nobody has any. There we go. There's the next topic. Has anybody seen anybody pick this story up in the mainstream media? Anywhere?
I think I've written 5 articles about it across the different platforms. So I, tried to flood the zone with my own tiny limited zone. But no.
Well, and thank goodness for y'all. I mean, between y'all and Liz, Liz is pushing things out, and then, just all of us little people out here trying to drop things and get them pushed out and shared. I mean, thank goodness for the good old regular people, doing the hard work.
Yeah, the media needs their talking points. They haven't gotten how to explain this away yet. So I think that's probably why they're quiet, because they haven't learned yet how. I think the town hall with the Democrats was an attempt, right, to kind of put the counter narrative out there. We didn't do anything wrong. Everything's amazing. It's just those crazy election deniers, right? Joe Biden totally won, man, 81 million votes. And, that's what they're going for. But they need a counter narrative. You definitely don't want all of the Democrat voices, mainstream media, same thing, voices, making it up, reacting and reporting on it the way that they're seeing it. And I don't think that's how that works anyway.
There was a great clip, and I think Liz, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Liz that might have pulled this and posted it. But there was a great clip where James Mills, the executive director of the state election board, comes out. You know what I'm talking about, Brian? He comes out and he addresses, he says, this is media. because, you know, the AJC is sitting right there, and they've gotten really good about correcting the narrative, because a lot of times they put out junk, or, you know, they'll lie and try to spin it a certain way. And he came out and corrected it again this time. And he said, this is media. This is what you all should be reporting on. And he called it right out. So they've done really good on
news.
that. Huh?
He said, this is news.
Yeah, this is news.
Trying to find it. President Trump shared Liz Harrington's posting that, so I'll get it here in a second. Yeah, I was watching that clip, and he's like, no media is reporting on this. And I was like, oh, thanks, I'm chopped liver. I mean, I know we don't count because the mainstream doesn't like us, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let me see. But, you know, this is what I was telling Kevin this the other day. Like, this is how you change the narrative, and you flip it on these guys, and you put new gatekeeper. Well, I don't want to say gatekeepers because I'm not a gatekeeper, but they are gatekeepers. The mainstream media is a gatekeeper. You have people in that hearing that are listening that should absolutely be reporting on this, and they're not, because they're not coming from their authoritative sources. And it's disgusting, man.
It's been 6 years of this, though.
Yeah,
I mean, it's, you know, there's no surprise there. I think we'll start to see, you know, mistakes were made. It's fine. We fixed it somehow. Kind of, you know, very short deployment that they can point back to and say, oh no, we covered it. You know, but it's not going to be the truth, and it's not going to be the impact of this. That's the thing. And Brian and I, you know, went hard on this yesterday on the stream, but we're not just talking about control of the state of Georgia. We're talking about control of the presidency. We're talking about control of the Senate. We're talking about control of the nation. And they knew on November 19th of 2020 in Fulton County that they had real issues. It seems, ostensibly, right, may not be true, but it seems that they told the Secretary of State. Seems Secretary of State knew. Seems that they brought in third-party vendors NGO vendors to kind of help out and sort this thing out. And then on January 2nd of 2021, 4 days before the certification, they lied to the President of the United States. They told him he was wrong, that the count was fine, that he had bad information. The media picked up that. All of a sudden, it was Trump is trying to rig elections and get Brad Raffensperger to go find votes, right? And I know what the president used the word find, but we know that's not what he meant. We also know that their vote being under what they thought they needed was a real problem for them. And such a problem that they were still dealing with that problem a month after the election, right?
That's
so I don't think there is any way to get past this, and certainly for Georgia, but I think the whole nation should be pissed at Georgia. Same way I think the whole nation should be pissed at Minneapolis for Somali fraud, should be pissed at Colorado for 40% of our budget being state subsidies that are going to like top and bottom surgeries, right? Like the whole nation should be pissed when when the impact of what they're doing affects the whole nation. And that's certainly the case here in this Minneapolis, Colorado, et cetera.
All right, so here's that clip that they were talking about.
What we're about to talk about is facts. You're about to hear some real news, and I want to see if you'd be willing to report it. How many tabulation tapes did Fulton County, that you said in the early voting election, print out? How many total were there supposed to be, and how many did they print out?
For early voting, they provided 137 unsigned closing tapes and 0 signed or unsigned opening tapes.
Okay. But it's just a clerical error, someone would like to say. And my point is this. I want to talk about the clerical errors that happened at the beginning of the day. If you don't know that you start with 0, how do you know that you end with 315,000 or whatever number you want to come up with. How do you know that?
Right.
Now, if the press is in here, I'm giving you some news because nobody's reporting it. Nobody's talking about it. You want to talk about T-shirts of people that wear at a campaign or a polling site, or you want to talk about a hiring process that you don't like that I did, or one of our employees that I hired. This is news.
Yep.
This is what Georgia needs to hear about. This is what the state of Georgia's citizens care about when it comes to elections. I want to ask another question there was 0 of those 148 starting tapes printed, right?
Right, correct.
I'm astounded. Is the Fulton County attorney still here? I hope you're hearing what we're saying. And I don't mean this to be personal, but I'm not worth 2 cents if I'm not astounded about this.
Yeah,
If I'm not overwhelmed about this, because I personally am. And I hope you hear it in my voice and see it in my face. Georgia deserves better than this.
All right.
The nation deserves better than that.
Yeah.
Good energy. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. We need more of that. We need more of that. Did the
We do.
AJC
It's
report on it?
powerful.
Did the AJC end up reporting on it?
I'm waiting.
So I was about to say we're patiently waiting.
It's not often that I beat Mark Neese to something, but apparently I got him on this one. So he usually has stuff out and he gets to put his spin on it and all that stuff. But
Yeah, and Mark Neese is over at oh gosh, what's it called? Kevin, help me out here. Have you seen his latest write up? I'm trying to think of the name of it, and I can't.
He retired
from the AJC, but he's writing with another group. I just saw it the other day. Like it might have even been earlier today. My days sort of run together sometimes. Yeah, but he's writing for somebody else. But we have this new little young fella that comes and hangs out at the SEB meetings now and is writing. He's doing the writing. Caleb is his name. He's writing now for the AJC. And he has gotten scolded by Dr. Jan. So I'm sure he probably thought it was like, his mama getting on to him, But I mean, she was sweet to him, but she made sure she scolded him for writing incorrect things about her and the board. And so it's very good. That's another part that's changed is, it's not just holding people and officials accountable. It's holding the media accountable for what they're writing to, just making sure things are correct and truthful and honest on the record.
Sally says that Caleb is not at the AJC anymore.
Oh, he's already left too.
According
All
to
right,
Sally.
who is writing? Who in the chat knows who is writing for
Sally with an EIGH.
Yep, Sally Grubbs is on. She's watching. So that's one of our state election board members. Hi, Sally.
Good job, Sally.
Oh, Sally. Oh, we're
Sally's
big fans.
awesome.
Big
job.
fans. Yeah, excellent job at both this 11-hour marathon hearing and at the Senate ethics hearing yesterday. Well done.
yeah, we live streamed the Senate hearing as well. You guys are rock stars, man. We appreciate somebody finally doing something, and I was telling Ash when we live streamed it earlier at the end there, when she was bringing up the questions about how we get accountability, like where does the state election board send a complaint? Because they're the ones that are supposed to get the complaint. And why can't we hire our own investigators? Kevin, you could probably talk to that because, I mean, you were the one that sat there and had to watch the state Secretary of State's investigators sit up there and give absolute misinformation.
And to correct the record, Caleb is there. Mark is gone.
Oh.
And I was going to say too, I just got a message to no, the AJC only reported on the resolutions, did not report on the drop boxes and excuse only mail-in ballots. So of course they didn't. So yeah, Caleb is still there. Okay. I thought I saw him sitting right up there front and center Wednesday.
Kevin,
but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to chime in. Kevin,
No,
go
good,
ahead, buddy.
So about the investigators, the state election board did hire 2 investigators. Not sure what they're investigating, but the Secretary of State's office also won't give them access to resources like Jarvis or NCIC database search, or any other help that they could possibly need. So they're crippled, hand tied behind their back, so to speak. And if you notice that the Secretary of State investigators aren't presenting cases at the meetings anymore because they refuse to. Anything the Secretary of State can do to strangle the state election board, in my opinion, is what they're doing.
Which is crazy. It's crazy. You got the state Secretary of State and the county, Fulton County, aligned in obstructing the inquiry of the state election board.
Make no mistake, that's exactly what's happening.
That's crazy.
That's corruption.
Like we have this, yeah, it's 100% corruption. We have this oversight body to ensure that the people hands-on elections, the people that are hands-on, whether we're talking about the state level authorities or the county authorities, they're hands-on running the election. So for oversight to avoid corruption, we have this lawful oversight body, and the people running the elections just collude to obstruct it. That's
which is
crazy.
That little town hall you saw. That's part of that. They don't want to see the Republican members. They obstructing subpoenas, filing lawsuits that are unauthorized, spending taxpayer money, misappropriating funds to not comply with subpoenas from the state election board or the DOJ.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect election.
And I want to say too, I believe Julie Adams is listening. And she is, for those who are watching and don't know who Julie Adams is, she is a Fulton County election board member. She is a Republican Fulton County election board member, and she is a rock star. So y'all light her up in the chat too, because I'm pretty sure she is tuning in and seeing and hearing all of this. So I think it's just very important that we keep our people boosted up. There's, in the grand scheme of things, we're fighting something major here, spiritual and in the physical realm, but people are really ugly in this world. So I think it's really important that we, are always supportive to the ones out there, doing the hard work.
Yeah,
so,
Julie has
she's
brought the problem forward that has existed for years, in that the board members aren't allowed to see the receipts and are just expected to certify. Now that she has brought the problem forward, you see what's happening with town halls and the board of commissioners. They want her gone.
And the attorney, they do want her gone. And the attorney, I thought was very interesting. The one that was there representing Fulton County, he's been part of this whole election. Of course, he's there representing Fulton County, but part of this whole thing with them. But it was pretty comical that he had to stand up there and while trying to defend, Fulton County and all these lawsuits with Jason and Julie and everything going on. Jason standing right there with him, right there next to him while he's getting grilled about why he's not, why they're not approving the board members to stay on, which Julie did get to stay on, but still working on Jason. That was pretty comical.
Yeah, I wrote an article about that. That's why when I saw Dana Barrett, I was like, I wrote an article about her a few months back, and weren't they going to fine them $10,000 a day or something until they sat Frazier? I think it was Frazier, right? Yeah. Until they sat him and Julie.
Yeah,
man,
they stated pending appeal because it's the law. But
well, when do we get the subpoena documents? Where's that at?
Well, so the order from McBurney only addressed the first subpoena. It failed to address the second subpoena, which was about the physical documents being the paper ballots and the envelopes. McBurney kind of forgot to include that part. So now that there's I think there's a need for a hearing again.
Great. Are they still wanting to charge? What was it? 437,000.
That's just for images of the envelopes and the other records that they're required to maintain.
Has anybody brought up the $1 million plus Blue Crest sorter that they could use to do that in like 30 minutes?
No, they have not.
Well, I think that needs to be brought up. I mean,
in fact, they said that they have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to scan one side of the envelope, and then hundred thousands of dollars to scan the other side of the envelope, because I never heard of a duplex scanner before.
I mean, are those machines?
And they should have already done it.
Yeah,
And the appellate ruling on that.
The digital file transfer should not be hundreds of thousands of dollars. It should be, maybe the cost of a thumb drive.
It's so absurd. It's not even funny.
Yeah, you would think. All right, we have
appeal rulings coming in February, by the way.
We are almost out of time. So, Brian, do you want to do rants and then we'll do final thoughts?
Yes, but just let me know, guys, if we need to fundraise for that, because I know the state election board's budget is only 1.38 million, and 437,000 would be a quarter of that, a third of that. So,
well, I think it's half of the marijuana board.
Well, that's up my alley too.
You just given him an ethical dilemma.
Yeah,
you just give Brian an ethical dilemma.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into some Rumble rants here. We got Misfit Angie says, "Thanks, Brian and Ash. So thankful for your continued exposure of our fake elections."
Oh, thank you. We appreciate your support.
Yeah. RSCRIV says, "Thanks for the extra hour tonight. See you tomorrow, Ash. We will all have one frozen ball for sure."
We're going bowling, Mountain State Badlanders group. If you're in the Colorado Front Range area and you want to come bowling with us tomorrow, I have no idea how you do that. I think that you sign up on the website, badlandsmedia.tv/groups, or reach out to Becky, who is rscriv on Rumble, and I think X and B17 something on. I'm doing a terrible job at this, but if you want to come with us, tag me on X and I'll figure out how to get you plugged in.
All right. AKA Lou9 says, "Thank you both for staying on top of election integrity." And Tina Peters, "I feel so much better educated as a result." And Ash, "I love when I'm watching and my normie husband walks in and says, 'There's Ash.'" Yeah. Yeah. I do the same thing. I walk in. And oh, shit. It's still Ash. Trumpet. Good to see you, Trumpet. God bless you both.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a while. Did Dan Sundin in the chat tonight as well, who I haven't seen since like 2022.
Dan lurks. I see Dan from time to time in there.
Yeah, I remember seeing him not in the chat.
He lurks.
Good to see you, Dan.
Brought
me back.
Artsy Jones. "So after the fraud has been proven, what happens next? Love this show. Thanks, Ash and Brian. God bless." We got to have solutions, and the only solution is hand marked paper ballots, hand counted at the precinct level.
Yeah.
Decentralization.
And also shout out to Joan. She painted this beautiful picture of my lily pad, who, despite what the internet says, is not dead, is not a memorial. It's just Joan's obsessed with my dog and keeps painting beautiful portraits, and I have to hang them because I love them so much.
Well, she had both pictures up the last show
with the cross in the middle.
With the cross in the middle.
Caleb came in here and he's like, "Why?" He's like, "People are going to think Lily's dead." And then sure enough, a lot of people thought Lily was dead.
Oh, man. Maggie Bund is now a monthly supporter. I feel like I see that every month. So I think she just signs up each month so that we give
Maggie has like 15 subscriptions to Badlands.
Right. Thank you, Maggie. And
we love you, Maggie.
Leal 4, I hope I'm saying that right. "Ash, I hate to admit it, but Ryan Macias is a relative of mine. I'm angered and tormented by the thought. I hope he gets locked up for a long time. Love you all."
Okay. When is the next family reunion?
I was about to say, we should talk.
I really wanted to go to the CCCA meeting as soon as I found out he was there. And the clerks that I know were like, "Yeah, we're not telling you where we are."
I have
come on, guys. That'd be nice. No, we're not telling you. And then they told me today, they're like, "Yeah, we were in Pueblo."
I still have that picture you sent me of him at the Colorado Secretary of State. That Secretary of State
at NASS. Yeah, that's August 2021 in Iowa.
Yeah, I still have that video or that picture of him. So, all right. Any closing thoughts? It was a good week. Finally got a little bit of vindication on the table. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so I'll just I guess just thanks to everybody for, all the hard work and everything they're putting in. And it's finally starting to pay off. And yeah, very exciting week, and there's more to come. So it's we appreciate everybody being with us this far along the way, and hope that you stay with us, keep sharing, keep tuning in. Lots of good things are going to come, and this is just the beginning. So, and celebrate with us too. We want everybody celebrating with us. So that's pretty much all I got to say. And thank y'all. Y'all are amazing as always.
Amen. And Kevin?
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Johnston. Without her, none of this could be possible.
Yeah.
Kelvin King. I'm sorry, Janelle King, Sally Grubbs, Julie Adams, all the folks that are fighting, all the great ladies. Don't know where the men are, but great ladies are doing great.
Amen. Yeah, I want to say that same sentiment. Thank you to now that we know there's a few of our election officials in Georgia that are listening. Thank you guys so much. We've been begging for this for so long. And hopefully there's more officials like this in other states that start to feel a little empowered to stand up for what's right and stop buying the mainstream narrative, the safest election ever lie, and actually get into, the brass tacks of what's actually going on here. And also for Kevin, Kevin and Holly, you guys have been busting your ass. If you guys want to support Kevin, you can go to givesendgo.com/election oversight. He's all funded. I push his Give Send Go out as much as possible, but
I appreciate that too very much.
Of course. I hope the end of that Fulton County town hall, they're like, oh yeah, they're putting all this money into subverting elections. And I was like, bullshit. We have no funding on the backside of elections. All the funding is into get out the vote. And let's make sure there's 10 million people on a voter rolls on a state that has 3 million people. And it's like, stop doing that. Stop doing that. If people want to get out and vote, they will get their asses out and vote. If they care enough to vote, they will get off their lazy ass and go register to vote. You don't need to shove it down their throat and give them little free hats and everything else to do it. So,
yeah, and I would just echo what y'all said, to Sally, to Dr. Jan, to Janelle, all of the investigators, Julie Adams, the people who push for this coming forward. Like I said, and I truly believe this, the courage and the persistence is the heroic bit. It's not easy when you have the state the state of Georgia opposing you in your effort to do what is righteous and just. It can be incredibly intimidating, and there are real consequences. And it's, there's a personal human impact to this, but it matters more than just about anything else I think we've ever done. And so to the officials watching and to all of you guys, I'm just really honored to know you. And to have been, to have known you for going on 6 years, and it's what we're closer than we've ever been, and more people understand, what we've known for years. More people understand it now than ever before. The volume of people that believe that elections are fake is not smaller than it was. I would say it's grown 3 sizes at least, and so I'm honored to know you guys. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for everything that you do, and well done.
Thank you, Ash.
Yeah,
Right.
thank y'all.
Yep.
Love
God
you guys.
bless.
See you soon.
Stay tuned for Only Lands. Well, Spellbreakers is coming up next with Matt Trump, and stay tuned for Only Lands coming on after that. Smash that thumbs up. Check out our sponsors in the links down below, softdisclosure.com, Tamarack Gardens, badlandsmedia.tv/Tamarack Gardens/Tamarack.
Yeah, Tamarack, I think.
Yeah, and badlandsmedia.tv/rattlesnake. And we'll see you guys next time. God bless.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.